Today we're going to be going over a little thing called color theory, repetition, and placing things in groups. And I have here a picture of my front garden. It's not the best because it was raining a lot and I didn't have the time to cut the grass, and I also have some things I need to remove, but I think it will still do for this representation here. The first thing I want you to pay attention to is how I'm using color. For example, you have the stackish over here that's repeated by the same color with the artemisia over here. And then you have the nebeter here that is repeated in color with the nebeter here, and the geranium, rosemary, over here. And even though you can't see it, there's also more of this bluish color over here with the ground cover. And then you have something like the lady's mantle here, this fresh lime green that's repeated by the euphorbia a bit over here. So you see, there's a lot of repetition going on, and things are planted in groups, in these massive groups. And another thing you can see from this picture is these sedums actually gets the same color as this up here, this light green color. So that's another repetition. And all the flowers, all the rose flowers in this bed that are behind here, you have something like Princess Celine de Monaco, and you have Chandler's Beauty, and you have a lot of different light pink colored roses in here. And of course the Louis Deer on the obelisk over here. So I'm repeating the colors. The colors are constantly repeated. And then you have the what's called Lychnis over here, and another Lychnis over here, and you have the what's it called, asters here and the asters here. So I'm using a lot of repeated colors, and I'm using a lot of different groupings to kind of create a calming effect, even though I'm creating with a lot of different colors. Like you can see, I use a lot of gray here, a lot of gray there, and gray over here again. But I offset it with these more deep green colors you see over here. So it doesn't look as bad to use the gray colors. But you can also use gray colors and offset them with something like more purple colors or more red colors. And I actually do that down in the red rose bed, where I offset it more that way. But again, yeah, the gray color that's repeated also here. If you look at this, what's it called? Some kind of, here's the ones that get these, it's another, one of them is an artemisia, and the other one is this more cypress. It gets these small yellow balls. I can't quite remember what it is right now. But yeah, it is repetition. And then you have the azalea here, which actually gets covered. It's azalea bloom box, and it gets covered in these pink flowers. And then you have the pink climbers all the way over here with the same pink color. So what I'm trying to instill in you is when you plant things in groups, you get this massive effect you can't achieve otherwise. And then you also want to add a little bit of vertical height. As you can see here, I have these vertical things going on to add a little bit of height interest. And if you can add a lot of these things in different height scales, and also these different groupings, and also thinking repetition of colors and all these things, then you'll make your flower bed a lot more interesting to look at. And if you notice, I'm always planting things in three. You can see there's one here, one there, three. And it is exactly the same thing. If you go over here, there's another tree, and here there's three again, and here there's five, and there's also five here, and there's five here, and you can actually count it here a bit in the front bed also. You can see there's if I can get it to register here, there's 5 of these down there next to the Artemisia. So oftentimes I'm planting things in 3, 5, or 7s, and I'm using the same colors repeated a bit further down the flower bed. So if I start out with the more light violet color here, I repeat it down here, and then I repeat it further out here. So it's kind of repeated. And then you have the pink colors at the back of the flower bed that's also repeated. So the name of the game to making a lot of flower beds is to remember to repeat colors and to remember to place large groupings that get kind of, I would say, sumptuous, because you achieve a much different look than what you always achieve. The reason my flower bed is a bit more sparse down here is because these plants here were planted a bit later than the ones further up. And this flower bed over here was also planted much later. So yeah. That's kind of what I'm often thinking about when I'm doing flower beds. I'm thinking about using the same colors, repeating them, using some of the same textures, just repeating them a little bit different, using many of the same flower colors, and again, just repeating them a little bit different. So, like you can see, I did here, very similar texture. 2 different plants, very similar color, repeated a bit apart from each other. But they bring harmony. So that was just to explain a little bit of how I'm thinking about it when I'm going about making garden designs. I want to repeat things, especially the color. I want to repeat textures. I want to bring in a lot of different textures. For example, the Stachys Byzantia is more these kind of leather leaf structured things, while the Aquila mollis is much more, or lady's mantle is much more whimsical, just like the geranium is much more whimsical. So by adding these different textures to the garden, different heights and different colors, you're making it a lot more interesting. And an advantage of also having a lot of perennials is you can see the roses when the roses is not in bloom. Like, if I didn't have these perennials that are providing a constant source of blooms, then the bed would look very boring, because you'll just be staring into these empty rose canes for a lot of the year. Now, I know roses bloom for a long season and they bloom quite amazingly, but still, by using a lot of perennials, you are lengthening the bloom season early in the season, and you are lengthening it also at the end of the season. And that's another example in this flower bed. Like these two right now, the Nepeta and Aquila mollis is very pretty together with geranium rosemore. When you go further into the season, you have the sedums here that starts looking pretty, and then you have the asters here that starts looking very pretty, and you have the hydrangea here and back here. And of course, in the middle of the season, you also have the Lychnis that takes over here. And really, you have the phlox you can't see here, but there's also some phlox behind here. There's an iris stuck in here. There's also some peonies that are hidden, very young peonies, but they're hidden in there. So what I'm really trying to highlight to you is I'm trying to stick a lot of different plants together that bloom at different time periods. So you also have here, you can't see it yet, but these were blooming quite beautiful a month ago. These are Palmeria, really beautiful, what they call, I think it's raspberry splash or something like that. Very beautiful, and those were in full bloom a month ago. But now you can see it's the catnip again over here that's taking the interest. And you can see if you go further, a month or two further ahead, you will see it's the rest of the row that starts blooming, the sedums and everything else over here. And you can also see the heather over here have been blooming for a long time now. And that's really the thing with these flower beds. I'm picking flowers that are blooming all the way early at the season and all the way back at the end of the season. And because of that, I provide the roses with so much more color, because it feels like a garden for much more of the year, because now I suddenly have flowers all the way from February, March, all the way to November, because I have so much more supplementing my roses. My roses tend to bloom much more from June to some of them start in May, but most of them tend to bloom in June and then continue sometimes all the way until October. If I'm lucky, some of them also go crazy and want to bloom during November, December, but most of them bloom in June and until August reliably. And but because we're doing it like this and structuring it like this, you get much more blooms really. So yeah, that was it for today, guys. As I said, think about planting things in groups. Think about using similar colors. And think about using things that bloom at different time periods, so you always have something interesting going on in your garden. And once again, apologize for the uncut grass here. We had nearly 50 millimeters of rain today, and yesterday it was also raining quite a lot, so I didn't have time to, or I couldn't cut the grass because it was simply raining too much. I just had time to just get this picture for you to explain these things, but I hope it makes sense to you. This thinking about colors, textures, height, placing in groups of 3, 5, and 7, sometimes 9. Always the uneven numbers, large groups, and also really thinking about your choices of plants. I generally don't tend to like plants that are self-seeding too much. A lot of people will do lupins and these different plants. I might do one of them, but I'm not going to plant my whole garden in lupins because you're getting them everywhere. But yeah, that was really it for today, guys. Hope it makes a little bit of sense to you, what I'm saying. So if you aren't subscribed, feel free to subscribe, and otherwise, take care out there.